Public affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcomed. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Most cybersecurity firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
The Saratoga City Council meeting, an inside look at the decisions that affect you and our community.
Good evening. This is City Council meeting for June 19th, 2018. Tonight's meeting will start with a public hearing, amend Chapter 118 Enforcement Powers, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. So this public hearing will discuss amending Chapter 118 of the City Code concerning zoning with respect to enforcement powers. The amendment to Chapter 118 of the Code will allow the code enforcement officers to enforce parts of the building code and the whole of the zoning ordinance concurrently with the building department. It's the product of discussions that we've had with the mayor's office. This will help build efficiencies in both the code enforcement department and the building department, driven by some jurisdictional overlap. The amendment will be backed by an internal memorandum of understanding between the mayor's office and the Department of Public Safety that states that the Department of Public Safety's code enforcement will take the lead on enforcing building codes, except for most of those that take place in the period of time between the issuance of the building permit and the issuance of the certificate of occupancy. The amendment only creates concurrent jurisdiction between the building and code enforcement in these additional areas. It does not remove any building or zoning powers from either the Department of Public Safety or the building department. So that's what this public hearing is about.
Great, thank you, Commissioner. If anybody would like to speak on that, please step up to the mic. And this is a 5-minute public hearing, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll wait till 7 o'clock. It's 3 minutes.
Hi, Darlene McGraw. I live here in the city of Saratoga Springs. The only thing I gotta say is I think it's a good idea to everybody be more involved in together communication so you don't have gaps in communication and then having a misunderstanding between everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
chin injury. How do you make this thing nice? Won't go in? Down?
But it seems like it's so little.
Oh, it
goes down to the bottom.
I want it to down. Right?
The rock is on this side. That's what I'm here for.
Still getting training on the 2006 stairs.
You're,
We might have to do a switch around there.
Okay, if there's no one else to speak on this, Commissioner, will we be closing this?
No, let's leave this open, please.
Okay, we'll leave this open. Moving on to other business. Roll call, please.
Present.
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 Mayor Kelly.
Here.
Supervisor Beach. Here. Supervisor Gannon. Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On to public comment. Next on the agenda is a public comment period. I would ask that you try to keep your comments brief, 2 minutes maximum. Comment period will be for 15 minutes. Please be respectful to speakers while they're addressing the and please address the council. Anyone who wishes to address the council on any issue may now come forward, state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Pat Ritzert. I live at 30 Arrowhead Road in Saratoga Springs. The residents of 26, 28, and 30 Arrowhead Road have been informed by the city engineer that we have to change our addresses to 30 Arrowhead Road, units 101, 102, and 103 because of a planned Belmonte development for 7 new homes on Arrowhead Road, and there are only 5 numbers available, 16 through 24. This letter I would like to submit to you today provides details and includes emails from Lindsay Belmonte stating that they propose to the city planning board and engineer that they number their new homes with an A and B labeling. Belmonte states that there are other areas in Saratoga where this type of labeling has been done, and they received approval from 911 for this numbering proposal. Using this approach, no one on Arrowhead Road would have to change their address. Lindsay Belmonte couldn't join us tonight, but will attend the planning board meeting on Thursday, and she will be submitting a written document to this effect. Public safety has been a repeated primary reason for this address change in compliance with a city code policy in order to ensure a quick response to an emergency. The idea is to eliminate any confusion locating an address. We're all for public safety, but strongly object to our houses only being targeted by this policy, when approximately 200 feet south of our homes on Arrowhead Road, there are existing homes with both odd and even numbers on the same side of the street, and the numbers do not run in order. Public safety should be intended for the public and not for 3 isolated homes, just because it is administratively convenient. I strongly believe that given the oddities of the numbering system on our neighborhood, Arrowhead Road, that changing our addresses will only make a bad situation worse. We are located on Saratoga Lake, where delayed emergency response is already a concern. We're part of 174 community townhomes, and the majority of those townhome owners are against this change. We're in the process of collecting those signatures and are prepared to deliver them to the council early July. I also just want to add that we appreciate the fact that Tim Wales, the city engineer, was in the neighborhood this morning going over and reviewing the situation. We respectfully ask that the City Council overrule the decision by the city engineer and adopt the Belmonte proposal, allowing us to maintain our existing house numbers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Catherine Casamaris. I live at 28 Arrowhead Road. This is a little high for me. My neighbors and I have outlined why we see the renumbering of our properties be unfair and likely to reduce our property values. I'm an 85-year-old widow and would like to add some issues that may seem unimportant to you youngins. First, changing my address with every institution and all the friends is a massive undertaking and will cost a lot of effort and expense. I never adopted online accounts for my bank checking cards, credit cards, insurance policies, and Social Security. Changing my address on these accounts will require either trips to meet face-to-face with administrators or long waits on the hold waiting to speak to a government agency. The time and energy to do this when I'm not moving anywhere is largely undue burden to me. Second, my home and my address are part of my identity, which I hold dearly. I have been identified for the past 65 years as a homeowner, not as someone who lives in a unit. The very word unit has caused me much emotional distress, primarily because I felt that being a homeowner, something I have worked hard to do and maintain, that distinction has been taken away from me in essence, by the use of the word unit. I do not live in a unit. I live in a house with a front yard and a backyard and wonderful neighbors. I'm proud to be living independently in my own home, 28 Arrowhead Road. I ask you to consider altering the solutions as outlined by our group letter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Douglas Meyer of 94 State Street here in Saratoga Springs. I'm here tonight as the volunteer chair of the Saratoga Greenbelt Trail Committee, which I know the council is familiar with. I'm here to talk about 4 different points in relation to the proposal to move from concept to final design with Lake Avenue bike lanes. The first point is, why am I here as the chair of the Greenbelt Trail Committee? Well, as you know, since all of you voted in favor, those who were on the council in 2014, the Greenbelt Trail also highlighted the need for bike improvements on Lake Avenue as part of that plan. So it's now in not just 1, but 2 unanimously approved plans that we should be looking at bike lanes on Lake Avenue. The second is to please encourage the council that we favor, as a city, expert opinion on matters when it comes to things like transportation planning. We heard a lot of individual opinions and perceptions about what is good. Both of those plans were done by nationally renowned experts for the city and approved by this city, both in terms of identifying Lake Avenue as a need for these improvements and in terms of providing concepts for what those should look like. The third point is to please look at community benefit, not just personal preferences. I happen to live on State Street, which has a lot of people walking back and forth to Skidmore College. It is mildly inconvenient for me when I back out my car, and yes, I do also drive, to have to look both ways because of all people walking. We heard some comments at the last council meeting that seemed to suggest we should discourage people, therefore, from walking or tear up the sidewalks on my street because it's mildly inconvenient for me. Please look at the community overall benefits, not just the personal preferences. The last point is the safety concerns that were raised with this council, with which I agree. I walk, run, and bike and drive on Lake Avenue. The 3 concerns that I heard at the last council meeting: people drive too fast, they park haphazardly, especially at Eastside Rec, and they drop their children off in an unsafe manner at St. Clements or for services. However, the solution to me is very different. The solution is not to ignore those concerns. In fact, that would put the city at high levels of risk to do so now that they're on notice about this, but to underscore that's why these plans were developed and highlighted Lake Avenue. So let's look to solve those for drivers, bicyclists, and pedestrians alike, and make it safe for all of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ken Gray, 38 Fifth Avenue. If I sound like I have marbles in my mouth, I just had a tooth extracted. I'm going to probably sound redundant to Douglas and all. I'm the chair of Complete Streets, some history. I've been there for 6 years. And before talking, Douglas had mentioned this, the Greenbelt Trail plan had been approved in 2012. The council, the mayor, approved the Complete Streets policy. In 2016 and 17, the plan was approved. Let's look at what the plan's all about. They hired Alta, an internationally recognized firm that's implemented from Dubai to Washington, D.C., New York City, all across the country. They conducted feasibility studies. They identified where do people travel. And one of the places in the discussions tonight is Lake Avenue. Not where we'd like to send them, but where do they travel? And that's really, really critical. So it was identified as a priority street, and it was accepted under the Complete Streets Plan as one of the priority transportations, as well as under Greenbelt. I've lived my working career in insurance with 3 companies, St. Paul companies, the Hartford, and now with Marshall and Sterling. And in all 3 companies, it's all about safety, and all with municipals. Right now, we have a tremendous risk. I've listened on both sides, and I've listened to what the opponents, or if you want to call it opponents, I don't think we're really opponents. I think we're looking at, these are the challenges that we're facing. In the Complete Streets Plan, which we've all approved, in years 3 to 6, it's all about education. So what I know I have 2 minutes, so I want to make sure that we look at this as an opportunity. We've got 2 schools along, actually 3 schools along Lake Avenue. I did walk the streets for 2 hours one Saturday afternoon 2 months ago to ask everybody. There was one person concerned, but not against, well, where do I park? And I said, I don't know. I'm going to have to get back to you because I don't have the plans. But we have a tremendous opportunity in education to educate the children, and to be honest with you, educate our peers, the parents, and everything else to start driving better, safer, to do best practices. We can start, part of this plan that we're talking about, we have an opportunity of $50,000 that Commissioner Martin was able to secure from Assemblywoman Kerry Warner. This is a tremendous opportunity for us. Let's not let this go by. Because if we keep on letting it go by, all those opportunities, they're gonna cease and desist. For those of you that may have lived a long time ago, the Joni Mitchell song, Put Up a Parking Lot. Again, unsafe situations, we know about it. How can we do it? You have a plan in place. It's a real opportunity. So that's our message. We want to work with the people that are scared, and we want to find a great plan. So thank you, and we hope that you look at solutions.
Thank you.
Hello again. My name is David Torres, 217 Lake Avenue. First, I want to thank Commissioner Martin for responding to my email. I sent him an email and the rest of your commissioners with pictures of Lake Avenue on a busy Saturday afternoon. There were 60 cars. I counted 60 cars parked on the south side of Lake Avenue and an additional 20 cars parked on the north side. It shows a typical afternoon on Lake Avenue during Little League games and whatever else goes on at the rec. I just want to share a letter from former Commissioner Chris Mattison, who I highly respect. It says, during 2017, the section of Lake Avenue, and I'll throw in also known as State Highway 29, east of East Avenue was repaved. The Public Safety Department is responsible for striping the traffic lanes, and request was made that the striping be done in such a way that would allow for dedicated bike lanes between St. Clements and East Avenue. Traffic regulations consultant and public safety garage foreman Mark Penaquista met with me on site to discuss his options before starting the striping project. After discussion with Mark and after going door to door to determine neighborhood opinions on the traffic and parking regulation changes that would be necessary for bike lanes, I decided that bike lanes should not be placed on the section of State Highway 29. The factors considered included the irregular width of the street, which is quite narrow. In front of my house, I've measured 37 feet in certain areas, and the requirement that without expensive widening of the street, bike lanes would make necessary elimination of on-street parking on the north side of Lake Avenue from St. Clements to East Avenue. There was a heavy demand for parking due to East Side rec activities. While some neighbors were in favor of bike lanes, despite the loss of parking, others were opposed. Ultimately, I felt that it was not fair to take away on-street parking from residents and business people who enjoyed the privilege for many years to place heavier parking burdens on narrow adjacent streets such as Ritchie Place, Forest Avenue, and Pinewood Avenue. Our department also determined that a bike sharrow would not be a safe alternative because of the heavy tractor-trailer use on State Route 29.
Time's up, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Darlene McGraw. I live here in the city of Saratoga Springs. I'm also going to speak on this Complete Streets bike program and all of that. I walked on Geyser Road all the way from Milton Town Hall all the way down until you got to Trailhead by the YMCA today. Today it seemed a lot longer than what it usually is because there was no bus for an hour and a half. So I walked down there. I said a prayer before I started, and obviously it worked because I'm alive and I'm here. But I agree with the city that there should be a path close to the road, not too far, because then we wouldn't have to add lighting and all that stuff. And I wouldn't have to, say if I pass out or somebody does, exercise and get you tired, and you're outside in the wooded area or whatever. And I often walk up and down Lake Ave, and I think if these people just, sorry for saying this, but get off your lazy butt. I mean, the doctors all tell us, you got to get up and walk. Get off your lazy butt, go take the bus, go walk, go ride your bike. No, stop being so lazy.
Thank you. We have time for one more.
Dave Morris, Saratoga Springs. This is my summer aggravation for y'all, just so you know that. I'll start it simply. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. We saw this same thing with Geyser Road Trail. Anyone with common sense can take a ride down Lake Avenue. Look at all the people that we got there. If you have a wedding at the church or something going on at church, something going on there, rec center, it's a mess. But putting a bike lane through something that is already a mess isn't going to solve any problems. It's going to complicate it even further. But you have to look even deeper to what a lot of these problems are. It's not something as simple as painting a line on a road. Once you get to the rec center and past it, that road narrows. You're going to be in more eminent domain cases. We've been down this road. You're going to look at least a decade of that Geyser Road Trail before you even get a thought of doing something on it. Is this going to be a solution? What we need to do is look at other solutions. And I'm all for a bike trail. I'm just for against these bad plans that are coming that are rammed down people's throats. You have to get people on board first. Somebody from this city has to go talk to those residents at Lake Avenue and say, these are the plans. What do you think? You don't want to come down this road like it did 10 years with the Geyser Road Trail to get to the point you're going to go, yay, this is great, to end up with more lawsuits. What purpose is that serving? It has to be done in a better, more efficient way. Look at other alternatives. All right. Personally, I think putting bike trails on a busy highway is insanity. To me, there's no other way to look at that. But if you look around, there's side streets you can go around, and there's ways this can be done. I've shown you all ways this can be done on Geyser Road better and more effectively than the plans you've already seen. But to go down this road again, no, it's the wrong thing to do.
Thank you. I'll take one more, please. I'll take two more. Don't fight.
My name is Michelle Torres. I live at 217 Lake Avenue. I have a question for all of you tonight. Can you hear me? Yes. I have a very soft voice, so. My question is, how can biking on a state highway ever be safer than an alternate route? On the block of Lake Avenue, which is where we live, between Forest and Pinewood, as my husband had mentioned, it's extremely narrow. We have had at least 5 cars hit or totaled while parked on the street. There are only 6 homes on this block. A drunk driver landed on my neighbor's lawn a few years back. There have been numerous pedestrians and bicyclists that have been hit, including 5 children who have died. We are not naysayers who are saying we don't want this in our neighborhood. We are firsthand witnesses to how unsafe this would be. Many of us have narrow city driveways in which we need to park tandem if we have multiple cars. There is no place to turn around at the end of our driveways, forcing cars to back out onto Lake Avenue. It is extremely difficult to see all the traffic, including the cars and trucks. Backing into a bike lane would be next to impossible and extremely dangerous. Yes, we would all love a bike path, but let's please put safety first and do a comprehensive study and look at better and safer options. This is an accident waiting to happen. Are you willing to risk your safety or a child's?
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Toth. I'm a Saratoga Springs resident, and I've worked at St. Clement's School for a little over 20 years. I've done bus duty, crossing children to Eastside Rec. I've spent a lot of time on Lake Avenue, even chasing a run-loose first grader out towards Lake Avenue. I've seen the traffic that goes there. I have nothing against biking at all, but this is a highway, like many people have said, and people do not go the speed limit there. We have tractor trailers, we have dump trucks carrying large equipment riding down there. If you are going there, I think the most important aspect of it is weekly, sometimes 2-3 times a week, the emergency vehicles come plowing through there. Of course, they're going quite fast. Of course, it's the law that everybody needs to pull over. You have CDTA busing, you have school buses, you have people pulling out backwards from Eastside Recreation. There's all sorts of things going on in an area where there's a lot of children. Adding bike paths to it, I think, just may complicate the whole thing. When you're driving down there and the buses, the emergency ambulance and fire truck comes, you are looking to pull over beyond parking spaces and to get over to begin with. If you have a bike path and children riding, why do we want to encourage that? If you have a bike path, that's going to even make it even worse. It's something to think about. Thank you.
Thank you. I now will close the public comment period. Any discussion?
Mayor, although I would like to respond, actually, I think a response to just about everything that was said concerning Lake Avenue is going to be in my presentation. So I would just ask if those who are interested in the Lake Avenue proposal and what happens there, please stay around for the next 10 minutes.
Great. Anything else? Okay.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcomed. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Most cybersecurity firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
On to our presentations. Tonight we have 2 presentations. Our first presentation is a charter review update, and Vince DeLeonardis will do that for us.
I'll be brief, particularly in light of Commissioner Martin's invitation that people stay for the next presentation. But with regard to the charter review, we have had 8 meetings, including a workshop.
Excuse me, Vince. Can you put that mic up towards your mouth? Just take it right out if you need to. Thanks.
We've had 8 meetings, including a workshop and a forum, and we have completed our initial review of the charter. Tony and I have begun and put together a rough red line draft of our charter. In addition, we have received responses from the questionnaires that were posed to the current City Hall employees, to prior commissioners and prior deputies going back a period of 10 years. responses to the questionnaires that were submitted during the forum, and also as part of a subcommittee consisting of Deputy Commissioner Sharp and myself, conducted numerous interviews. We've requested a number of those. Not everyone accepted the invitation, but we have met with individuals that were representatives of Success, individuals who were part of the 2017 charter. We have reached out to individuals who were part of It's Time. We've also interviewed Harvey Fox, who was the chair of the 2001 Charter Review Commission. We've interviewed the chair and the secretary of the Civil Service Commission. We've also interviewed both of our county supervisors, with Tara Gaston's interview completed actually right before this meeting. So I appreciate that. But we will use all of that information that we've gathered from the public to guide and assist us as we go into our more detailed analysis, which will begin at our next meeting on June 27th. That's Wednesday at 4 o'clock here in the City Council room. So as always, we both invite and encourage the public to come and participate in the process.
Thanks, Vince.
Thank you.
Okay, on to our second presentation. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Martin for a proposed Lake Avenue bike lanes.
Thank you, Mayor. So, got the lights, thank you. I'm going to be scheduling a vote for amending our city code to add bike lanes and to accept a grant onto the agenda of our next city council meeting, which is on July 3. I'm also going to be adding a public hearing that night so that more members of the public who are interested in voicing their thoughts about this proposal will have an opportunity to do so. And I apologize to the council for not simply continuing the last hearing, which now I learned would have probably been a better thing to do. Going forward, I will know that. Although a vast majority of the public that's responded to me since I first announced this proposal on May 18th has strongly favored adding bike lanes, a few citizens have raised concerns which deserve to be addressed. So I've scheduled this additional public hearing at our next council meeting for that purpose as well. I'm going to use this presentation to describe the proposal in more detail. So the proposal is for Lake Avenue to be painted with 5-foot wide bicycle corridors on each side of the street. Bikes will move in the same direction as traffic. The city jurisdiction for striping Lake Avenue ends at Henning, which is why we say the bike lanes will extend from Regent Street to Henning. But I do hope that the state DOT might decide to continue these either to Gilbert Road or to the Bog Meadow Trailhead. But that again is in the jurisdiction with the State Department of Transportation. We have concept drawings, which I'm going to show just a little bit later in this presentation, concerning these bike lanes. But the one thing I'd like to stress is that these are concept drawings. The exact location is going to depend on a survey and then the preparation of engineered scaled drawings. So I'm not in a position now, because we haven't engaged an engineer, to actually go out and draw the scale drawings to say exactly where the parking is moving and all that. The lanes will conform to New York highway and street regulations. So the first benefit of bike lanes is that they'll make it safer. They'll make it safer to access the East Side Recreation Center. They'll make it safer to access the Lake Avenue Elementary School. We've heard a number of concerns about Lake Avenue. The first, I'll say, is about speed and the speed that's on Lake Avenue. And I will say, yes, I think that right now, many cars are traveling too fast for Lake Avenue. You know, the state does studies of speed on a lot of the roads and highways around here. And so, of course, they've done a study of the average speed on Lake Avenue. This study dates to the summer of 2015, but I don't think that there's been a lot of change in people's habits since then. The average speed during the time period that they measured this was 30 miles per hour. The 85th percentile speed was up closer to just under 40 miles per hour. So again, I think that is too fast. It's not exceptional for roads that size, but again, the posted speed limit is 30, and that's what we would be hoping that we could keep people to. I've heard about truck traffic. Truck traffic on Lake Avenue in between Broadway and Henning constitutes 3.5% of all of the traffic on that street. To give you a perspective, Washington Avenue is about 4.2%, Henning Road is 5.6%, and Broadway between Washington and Lake is 7%. So, and this, when I talk about truck traffic, I'm talking about also, this includes school buses and anything that's considered a larger truck, not a pickup truck. So, yeah, it is 3.5%. That's a number, but I don't want to exaggerate this number. That's what the truck traffic is on that stretch. Bike lanes have been proven to actually slow traffic down because of the visual. Because it's a narrower lane in which to maintain your vehicular traffic, it actually causes people to slow down. I'm hoping that it actually will, this plus some other improvements would allow us to slow traffic down to maybe 30 miles an hour, which is the speed limit through much of Lake Avenue. And the other concern that we hear about a lot is parking at the East Side Rec. And I'm the first one to say, I've noticed this for years, and I'm sure that the residents on Lake Avenue have noticed this. The parking at East Side Rec right now is haphazard. It's not good. And in many cases, on many days, it's not safe right now. That's why it does need to be improved. The school district has recently passed a budget for the Great Outdoors program. This program includes further improvements to the East Side Rec. I've spoken with the school superintendent and the facilities manager in the school district, and they are very much interested in improving the parking over at the East Side Rec. They're very interested in working with the city and with our city public safety department in order to come up with a better parking solution that will be safer on the East Side Rec. If we can get our engineer to work with the schools group, they've already hired a group of engineers to work on plans for the East Side Rec. I think that we can come up with a much safer plan. If we don't start on it, we can't get it accomplished, and we're going to be left with what we have today. The next issue is we talk about bikes and bikes on Lake Avenue. Well, it came out pretty well. I didn't know how well it was going to show up on the board there. The reality is there are a large number of bicycles that are on Lake Avenue today. This is a heat map that's called a Strava heat map. And basically, any bicycle that's using a GPS device can be picked up by Strava. And the redder, the darker the red, the more traffic, more bicycle traffic is being shown. The blue means less bicycle traffic. Okay, so oh shoot, I'm not used to using this. Oh, there we are. Okay, Lake Avenue is right there. You'll notice it's one of the darkest red streets in town. I've seen these studies before, and what I had noticed from the end of last year when I last saw this study was that the most used bike area in town was actually Railroad Run. It gets more bike traffic than any other street, any other area in town. The second most used bike area in town is the Spa State Park, the roads and paths along the Spa State Park. Lake Avenue comes in right after that. So it's not a matter of actually bringing new bikers to Lake Avenue. It's a matter of making Lake Avenue safe for the bikers who are currently using Lake Avenue and for new bikers. They're there, they're using it, And I think as many of the residents have said, it's not as safe as it should be right now. Sometimes people worry. You worry because the cars don't know where they should be in the travel lane versus where bikes should be versus where parked cars should be. This proposal will line those out so that it'll be safer for those bikers who are already there on Lake Avenue and who will be coming to Lake Avenue. So, for the next 3 slides, I just want you to recognize this is a concept draft only. The exact location of the lanes and the parking may change. The first slide shows Lake Avenue between East Avenue and a portion of the East Side Rec near Granger. And I can tell you now that in talking with some engineers about this, you can see that right now there would be parking up here. Actually, it may make more sense because then you'd be keeping it consistent to move the parking to this side of the street. And so under this concept drawing, it appears that between Lake Avenue and Regent Street, which is going to be on the next, not Regent Street, I'm sorry, but rather, not Granger, on the other side of Lake. Richie, thank you. Richie, thank you. I just drew a blank there for a second. At least some or probably most of those parking spaces could disappear. For the rest, you're going to see, at least with respect to the concept drawing, it does not look like we lose other parking spaces versus other than those. Go to the next slide, please. So here, this shows Lake Avenue in front of the East Side Rec from Granger to St. Clements. And you'll notice that one of the things that we've pointed out here in the orange dots, this is where currently there's a footpath. It's a dirt footpath, a bunch of trees, a little bit of green space, and then a curb. And this is where a lot of the parking problems and a lot of the parking issues for the East Side Rec occur, because essentially people are hopping over the curb and parking kind of in a first come, first serve as to what angle they choose, haphazard method. This really should be improved. And I'd really like to see if we can incorporate with this an improvement so that people can see the road when they're coming and going, so that people can see bicyclists and can see pedestrians when they're coming and going. This particular concept drawing goes down as far as about the St. Clements School, and then the next one picks up and goes down to St. Clements Church. Again, it would be our proposal that St. Clements School and St. Clements Church do not lose any of their parking other than the pastor at St. Clements Church has asked me several months ago if I would take away approximately 7 spaces because for line of sight for people coming out of their parking lot and coming out of their there's a fire lane in between them and the Grove. He's asked me if we would take away a certain number of spaces just to improve line of sight. And I do think that that's a good, safe thing to do, and that I would like to do that. But other than that, the parking there would remain, and the bike lanes would just be on the outside of that parking. Just again, a concept. We can certainly improve the parking at the East Side Rec, working with the school district, working with DPW, working with the rec department. I think that there's a large number of opportunities that are available to us, and I'd really like to get our engineers, our experts, looking at those opportunities. Interestingly, Albany very recently put in some bike lanes on Madison Avenue. And when you look at this, you realize Madison Avenue, in terms of width, is very similar to Lake Avenue. Madison Avenue is State Route 20. There's not only a similarity in terms of width, there's a similarity in terms of the mix of residential and business and educational institutions along this stretch of Madison Avenue where they've put in these bike lanes. And there was concern before those bike lanes went in. Part of the concern is Madison Avenue is State Route 20. It's actually got significantly more traffic on it than Lake Avenue in Saratoga Springs. But since they've put in those bike lanes, I've spoken with a number of residents and parents of school children, and I will tell you, they love those bike lanes. They think that it's added significantly to the safety of drivers, pedestrians, and bike riders on Madison Avenue in Albany. One other thing I'd like to show you about Madison Avenue. This is, again, goes towards the concept of complete streets. So they've got bike lanes down the length, but in addition, they have parking. But in certain spots, in order to make things safer, they've done things like bulb outs at the corners. And this one here is an attractive little garden bulb out. If you notice, right behind it, the parking starts again. There's a parked car right behind that. It's those type of complete street accommodations that we could incorporate into Lake Avenue to make Lake Avenue much safer. Those types of things slow down cars. Those types of things make traffic much more manageable for pedestrians and bicyclists. And that's the type of thing that I think that we can bring to Lake Avenue to make things much safer. So, finally, what are the steps? Well, the city can receive up to $50,000 on a state grant to undertake a survey and then to conduct an engineering, to prepare an engineering plan, a scale drawing. Upon completion of that, we'd be able to begin painting these bike lanes, pending, of course, city council approval. Many cities that have suffered from an overconcentration of motor vehicles, like Saratoga Springs, are discovering the advantages of bike lanes and other complete street amenities. Let's remember, not only do the bike lanes have the ability to slow down traffic and make traffic a little bit more sensible, but also they reduce the amount of traffic because now you have more people on bicycles that are getting around. And that really should be a goal, I think, for Saratoga Springs. So those are the proposals that we have for Lake Avenue, and obviously I'd be willing and happy to talk to the council together or separately, as you'd like.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any comments from the council?
I just want to thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pennell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pennell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcome. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pennell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Most cybersecurity firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Okay, on to our regular scheduled program here. There was one executive session held at the end of pre-agenda, and that item, we did come out with an item for pending litigation, City of Saratoga Springs versus Eastside Group, LLC, and that will be added to the mayor's agenda. On to the consent agenda. I move that the council accept the consent agenda as included on this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes. On to the mayor's department. First item is discussion and vote authorization for the mayor to sign a memorandum of understanding for coordinated entry with the Saratoga North Country Continuum of Care. The Continuum of Care is a consortium of public service agencies in the area that deal with the homeless and individuals at risk of homelessness. Our participation, as outlined in the MOU, assures that should an individual come to City Hall presenting as homeless, our community development planner will complete the proper intake form with them, provide the information to the Continuum of Care. It also assures that we keep this confidential information. I move that the City Council approve the authorization for the mayor to sign a memorandum of understanding for coordinated entry with Saratoga North Country Continuum of Care as included with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes. Second item is authorization for the mayor to sign Saratoga Spa State Park special use permit. The special use permit will be used for the rec department running program. This will run from June 25th to August 13th. I move that the City Council approve the authorization for the mayor to sign a Saratoga Spa State Park special use permit as included on this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes. Third item is discussion and vote authorization for the mayor to sign Saratoga City School District Transportation Agreement. This agreement is for Camp Saratoga field trips. I move that the City Council approve the authorization for the mayor to sign the Saratoga City School District Transportation Agreement as included with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes. Fourth item is authorization for the mayor to sign loan agreement with NHHC for plaques on the city center wall. The city has a plaque on loan from the Naval History and Heritage Command, which is hanging on the city center outside wall. It has been there since the year 2000. From time to time, the loan agreement has been updated. We have provided loan reports regarding its condition. The NHHC is asking that we update the loan agreement and has sent us a completed agreement that requires the mayor's signatures and initials. I move that the City Council approve the authorization for the mayor to sign loan agreement with NHHC for plaques on city center wall as included with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes. Fifth item, authorization for the mayor to sign contract DEC 017 2016 0079 2016 municipal zero emission vehicle and ZEV infrastructure rebate program. The City of Saratoga Springs plans to install, operate, and maintain electric vehicle charging stations at the City Municipal Garage at Walton and Woodlawn Avenue in Saratoga Springs. The City of Saratoga Springs, in the spring of 2017, received notification that the city had been awarded a rebate of $16,000, 80% of the total cost for the infrastructure application for the EV charging stations at Woodlawn Avenue parking structure. This grant is through the 2016 Municipal Zero Emission Vehicle Infrastructure Rebate Program. The grant covers eligible costs incurred during the contract term by a municipality to install an eligible facility for providing Level 2 networked EVSC with at least one SAE J1772 standard port. The contract expiration date is 10/31/18. I move that the City Council approve the authorization for the mayor to sign a contract DEC 017 2016 0079 2016 Municipal Zero Emission Vehicle and ZEV Infrastructure Rebate Program as included with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes. Item 6, amending the resolution number 17-224 entitled Authorizing Exemption and Payment in Lieu of Taxes Agreement for Entrada Saratoga Springs Affordable Housing Project. This resolution and the following agreement are to correct some technical issues with the city's papers in connection with the pilot agreement with Entrada for affordable housing units to be located on West Side near the Amtrak train station. There are two changes. The name of the entity that is the title holder was changed slightly, and the second item is the top tier eligibility threshold has been changed at the federal level from 80% to 90% of the area median income, and the documents were changed to reflect this. Therefore, I move that the City Council approve the amending Resolution Number 17-224 entitled Authorizing Exemption in Payment of Lieu of Taxes Agreement for Entrada Saratoga Springs Affordable Housing Project as included with this agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes. Number 7, discussion and vote, agreement for payment in lieu of taxes between the city and Entrada Saratoga Springs. I move that the City Council approve the agreement for payment in lieu of taxes between the city and Entrada Saratoga Springs as included with the agenda. This is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes. Item number 8 is discussion and vote approve settlement between City of Saratoga Springs versus East Side Group LLC. This was the matter, topic of executive session convened yesterday at the pre-agenda meeting. I move that the City Council approve the settlement agreement between the City of Saratoga Springs versus East Side Group LLC as presented to the council in the executive session. Therefore, this is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes. My last item is number 9 is ZBA training workshop. The zoning board conferred with Mark Shackner, attorney for our land use boards, for training session last week. We try to hold these sessions once a year. The board is given an opportunity to discuss various issues such as legal process, procedure, liability, and communications. Because this is considered legal advice, the meeting was not subject to open meeting law and was not open to the public. However, very valuable training for the volunteer boards, and we appreciate the time they have taken to participate. This concludes my agenda. On to accounts.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 3 award of bids this evening coming out of Public Works. The first one is award of bid, extension of bid, precast manhole, catch basins, dry wells, frames, and covers to Paletti Stone Corp. Upon the recommendation of the Department of Public Works, I move to extend the bid for precast manholes, catch basins, dry wells, frames, and covers to Paletti Stone Corporation for an additional year under the same terms, conditions, and prices not to exceed $52,690.36. Funding is in lines A363-8144/54180, F363-8354/54180, G363-8114/54180, and A333-5014/5480. It's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
Thank you, Mayor. The second item is award of bid Loveberry Lake Dam Project, professional service to Schnabel Engineering of New York. Upon the recommendation of the Department of Public Works, I move to award the bid for Loveberry Lake Dam Project, professional services to Schnabel Engineering of New York for an amount not to exceed $789,970. Funding is in line H363-8742/52,000/1254. It's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
Thank you, Mayor. The last item, number 3, is award of bid sanitary wastewater pump station upgrades. Upon the recommendation of the Department of Public Works, I move to award the bid for sanitary wastewater pump station upgrades to Grant Street Construction, Inc. for an amount not to exceed $619,000. Funding is in line H363-8122/52,000/1241 and H363-8122/52,000/1183. It's a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
That concludes my agenda. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Frank. On to finance.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item on my agenda is an announcement about the 2018 bond sale. My office finalized the bond sale and the bond refunding last week, both at favorable terms for the city. I did send around a press release on June 11th, and I'm just going to summarize the details that were in that press release. The final bond documentation was an issuance of $6.8 million of new debt, and the refinancing was for $6.3 million of debt issued in 2008, 2009, and 2010. The refinancing came in with a savings of $1.3 million for taxpayers. This is the second refinancing effort that was led by the city's finance department. The first refinancing effort was in 2014 and led to a total budgetary savings of over $2.3 million. The $6.8 million of new debt issued will address immediate capital needs of the city as laid out in the capital program. This debt was issued at a rate of 3.179%, which was below the city's initial expectation, although higher than we've seen in some recent years. The refinancing of $6.3 million of city bonds, again, generates a savings of $1.3 million, or roughly $60,000 per year over the life of the new bond. We had an opportunity to refund 2008, 9, and 10 bond issues because the interest rates were still seen as being more favorable than when we went to bond during those actual years. I think that pretty much summarizes everything. Oh, I should say that in April of 2018, Standard & Poor's affirmed the city's AA+ rating with a stable outlook and noted that the city's strong management with good financial policies and practices and very strong economy in their report. They noted that. The rating also included positive commentary around the city's liquidity, budgetary performance, and budgetary flexibility. In addition, our financial advisors have consistently told us that Saratoga Springs is a premier destination, financial and otherwise. The recent report from S&P and our experience issuing and refinancing debt confirms this fact. These accomplishments are the result of financial expertise and prudence across City Hall, and as budget season does approach, I look forward to working with other departments to build on our exceptional fiscal success for the benefit of our residents and the city itself. The bond is scheduled to close tomorrow, June 20th. And the 2018 refunding bond closed yesterday, June 18th. Thank you. Item number 2 is a discussion and vote authorization for the mayor to sign contract with Ferraro, Amodio, and Zarecki, CPAs for forensic auditing services. Per the city charter, the finance department is tasked with the role of internal auditor for City Hall. My department and I take this obligation very seriously, and we do our best to work in this capacity when required or called upon. That said, we don't have an actual employee that works as the internal auditor. This function comes up time and time again, and we need to fit this function into what is already a very busy schedule of existing employees. And a recent audit request showed the problems this structure may present. To address this, on the agenda is a contract with Ferraro, Amodio, and Zarecki, CPA, for forensic auditing services. The firm responded to an RFQ that was sent out in early 2018, in which the scope of services was to perform such forensic accounting procedures as necessary to identify and quantify any and all abnormal contractual or financial activity, past, present, or future, as assigned by the Department of Finance. Our intention is to call upon Ferraro, Amodio, and Zarecki, CPA, on an as-needed basis, which will depend on the audit work required and the bandwidth of finance employees. My intention is also to eventually have a similar contract in place with other audit firms that we can call on, similar to the designated engineers list that we have in the Department of Public Works. This will allow finance and any department that needs audit work done to achieve this in an expedited manner through an outside firm with expertise in their given field. No individual task order will be issued over the amount of $20,000. I request your approval and authorization for the mayor to sign a contract with Ferraro, Amodio, Zarecki, CPAs for forensic auditing services as previously distributed with the agenda. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes.
Thank you. Item number 3 is discussion and vote, budget amendment payroll. Lines 1 through 3 are to record the receipt of the DWI checkpoint grant from the county. I request your approval of the budget amendment payroll as previously distributed with the agenda. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes.
Item number 4, discussion and vote, budget transfers, payroll. Lines 1 through 2 are to cover the cost of a part-time employee in the accounts office. Lines 3 through 4 are necessary to cover the cost of training for a new paramedic. I request your approval of the budget transfers, payroll as previously distributed with the agenda. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
Thank you, Mayor. That completes my agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner. On to Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. First item on my agenda is a discussion and vote for the mayor to sign a contract with Paletti Stone Corporation. This agreement between Paletti Stone Corporation and the City of Saratoga Springs is to provide the city with manholes, catch basins, dry well frames, and covers. Terms of this agreement are effective upon approval and completed by July 5th, 2020. Therefore, I move to authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Paletti Stone Corporation not to exceed the amount of $52,690.36. Funding is in various budget lines, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
Second item on my agenda is discussion and vote, part-time labor compensation schedule. DPW is proposing an hourly increase and a 3-year compensation schedule for part-time laborers. The current $10.50 an hour rate has been in place for over 10 years and should be updated to be competitive with other employees and representative of present-day costs. This will also help DPW attract and retain good part-time employees. A 50-cent increase would equal $11 an hour, with a $12.50 being the second-year rate and $12.75 being the final and peak rate. A majority of part-time laborers are hired for the summer season, but some return and are the first considered when full-time positions become available. DPW coordinated with the Finance Department and payroll to make the effective date July 1st, 2018. The hourly increases will be covered within the current DPW budget. Therefore, I move council to approve and establish a part-time labor compensation schedule as presented, and I put that in form of motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
Mayor, I'd like to add an item to my agenda. It's just a report in regards to the storm damage that we had yesterday. We need to, that's just vote to do that.
Right. You have to make a motion, right?
That will be my motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any
Thank you.
discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes. You're on.
Again, this is just an announcement in regards to the storm damage that we had yesterday. Yesterday afternoon around 4 o'clock, the city experienced what we think was a microburst. Heavy rain with significant wind. It only lasted about 10 to 15 minutes, but in that brief time, it caused severe damage, including downed trees, limbs, and power lines. DPW crews had already gone home as their shift ends at 3:30, but we called in 12 employees to join the night crew. And they were back working around 4:30 with loaders, trucks, and chainsaws. We also called the city electrician to handle a few of the decorative streetlights that had the globes and poles damaged. The wind actually blew the globes off the top of some of the light posts on Broadway. Approximately 27 trees and tree limbs fell in the storm. Our goal was to clear any roadways that were blocked before moving on and to clear any other damage. In a few instances, we had to wait until National Grid was on site to de-energize power lines, but they worked with us as fast as possible. In total, we had 17 employees working. The approximate overtime labor cost is around $3,000. And again, I want to applaud the efforts of DPW workforce for their quick response in dealing with the storm. Those employees and Deputy O'Neill worked late into the night to alleviate hazardous situations to protect the public. In particular, they took down 2 large trees that fell directly on houses, and the public should know that we're working to clear any remaining damage and should be completely caught up by the end of the week. I know there's a lot of debris still left out there on the side of the road. People have now cleared their yards and started putting stuff in the front, and that's what we're going to be doing, obviously, until it's all cleaned up. So just be patient. The other thing I wanted to mention was, while we were on some of the calls out there, in particular, the one over on South Franklin Street, where actually 2 trees fell, took down power lines, and one of them was on the house, and DPW did a great job taking it off the house, as well as the one over here on Lake Avenue. one of the residents came out and just quickly mentioned to us, there's a tree with a limb that's cracked over here that you wouldn't normally notice, but the residents actually seen it. So if you're a resident of the city and you have a city tree that's out in front of you and you do, see some damage to the tree, please report it to our office, DPW, and we'll send somebody out to take care of it immediately. So I just wanted to make that announcement. And again, it was one of those freak things that just happened. It was 10 minutes. Actually, I was inside. I didn't even know it was happening until I left around 4:15, 20 after 4. And when I got out, it's like I'm driving through the city and I'm looking at all this stuff going on. It's like, oh my God, this is bad. I mean, for what it was and as quick as it was. I know I talked to the people over the water treatment plant because we had an issue with a tree over there, and they have cameras that surround the area over there, and one overlooks Lufberry Lake, and they told me they couldn't even see the lake. It was like a whiteout. That's how bad the rain was coming down. So I guess every once in a while you get a little bit of a storm like that, and things happen, and again, we got a good crew, and the guys are out there, and they did a great job taking care of it, and they're going to continue to work, throughout the week to clear up the city. So, with that, I don't know if there's any.
I was out on the corner of Rock Street and North Broadway for my kids, and it was so bad. I basically ran into my neighbor's house, who I don't know that well, and they were sitting there watching Oprah or whatever on TV, and their lunch fell out of their mouth because. The tree across the street went flying by. I mean, it was literally, my whole backyard's gone. My neighbor's trees all came down, but, and the National Grid was great.
Yes.
Because we have somebody a couple doors down that's on oxygen, and they got there very quickly for him. And, but, I mean, I've seen a couple of these over the years, but I couldn't believe how bad it was. It was quick.
And it was fast and furious.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I started to think I was back in Bermuda living through a hurricane. I pulled up, my power went out, and I went to the National Grid site, and they told me it would be restored tonight at 9:30. And I thought, now what happened out there? To have like that much time go by before we have power. But the power was only out for about 5 or 6 hours. But you all did a great job. But yes, you could see the remnants of it this morning driving around the city.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, and thank your staff, too. It's really a job well done.
And that concludes my agenda, Mayor.
Thank you.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcomed. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Most cybersecurity firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
On to public safety.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item on my agenda is the discussion and vote for the authorization for the mayor to sign a contract with Lightspeed Technologies. This contract is for hardware and software for microwave connection from the city's emergency radio system to the county system and related system configuration. The contract is for $126,383.25, and the funds are being released from line H31 for 3122 52001253. So this is a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the contract with Lightspeed Technologies, and this is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
The next item is a discussion and vote for the authorization for the mayor to sign a contract with Saratoga Springs City School District for the school resource officer. This is a renewal of our existing contract to provide a police officer to serve as a resource officer for the school district. The revenue line is A05444325. It's called Cops in School. We are reimbursed 65% of the base salary along with all school-related overtime pursuant to this contract. This comes up to about $50,000 a year. Therefore, I move that the mayor be authorized to sign a contract with Saratoga Springs City School District for the school resources officer, and this is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
The third item on my agenda is a discussion and vote to amend Chapter 215 of the City Code called Taxi Cabs with respect to technical consistencies. The proposed change will remove the requirement that a medallion be issued through CDTA and that licensing go through CDTA. This is simply being done to reflect a slower implementation process of the regional universal taxi ordinance than expected by CDTA and other municipalities concerned. A change back to the universal model will be made in the future when that implementation is completed. This is a vote to amend the code to bring those functions back to the city until the regional project is completed. Therefore, I move to amend Chapter 215 of the City Code as indicated in the code amendment which is attached to the agenda. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes.
Thank you. The next item is a discussion and vote to amend Chapter 225 of the City Code, Vehicles and Traffic, with respect to a four-way stop at the intersection of Washington Street and Walnut Street. We received complaints from a neighbor with respect to a number of accidents at this intersection. In April of 2018, Creighton Manning conducted a professional engineering study. The study indicated that speed was not the issue, but found that there was a high incidence of accidents, which resulted from a poor line of sight. The study recommended a four-way stop at this intersection. Therefore, I move that we amend Chapter 225 of the City Code, Vehicle and Traffic, to add a four-way stop sign at the intersection of Washington Street and Walnut Street. This is a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The matter passes.
Thank you. And then I have 5 public hearings that I would like to set for this next City Council meeting. And Lisa, I'm going to ask for your indulgence on this. I'm going to kind of change the order a little bit. Now, I'll give you the proposed times, and hopefully you can tell me that this is
Commissioner, is it possible that we could combine the 225s? Maybe to a 10-minute?
The 225 on the vehicle and traffic.
Well, you have
Joseph.
three. You have 3 from Chapter 225.
The answer is yes. I think we can combine what's items 8 and 9 on my agenda. And if you
6, 8, and 9.
6, no. 6 is the no. 6 is the bicycle lanes. I think that we're going to have more discussion on that.
Okay.
But 8 and 9, I think we could certainly combine, and I'm happy to start with those if you don't mind. So I'd like to set a public hearing to amend Chapter 2, this is number 8, to amend Chapter 225 of the City Code, Vehicle and Traffic, with respect to parking on Joseph Street and Empire Way. We've received a number of complaints from residents in the area where Elm Street intersects with Joseph Street and Empire Way. Among these complaints are a concern for low visibility due to parked cars near that intersection, leading to a high risk of accidents. We propose eliminating several parking spaces along Joseph and Empire to generate better sight lines. And so I expect, well, I'm going to combine that with number 9 to set a public hearing to amend Chapter 225 of the City Code, Vehicle and Traffic, with respect to traffic control at the intersection of Union Street, Adelphi Street, and Finley Street. We've been approached by a contractor who tells us that there's going to be a large new retail facility being built at this corner. The planning department has asked that we consider adding stop signs at that corner. It's a 3-way, I guess, intersection. So I'd like to have a public hearing set to discuss the addition of stop signs at that intersection. So those 2 public hearings will be for a total of 5 minutes, and they would be at 6:55 PM.
On July 3rd?
On July 3rd. Thank you.
There's no stop sign there?
Pardon me?
There's no stop sign there?
I think that there's one stop sign currently. We need to add two more.
Is there only one?
Yeah. And apparently it's going to be a large building, and the planning department thinks we need some more, and I agree.
Yeah, no, I thought there was stop signs there.
Okay. The next item, I'm going to go back to number 7, Lisa. I'd like to set a public hearing to amend Chapter 240 of the City Code zoning with respect to enforcement powers. Today, we've already amended, let's see, 118, right. So this would be to also amend Chapter 240, or today we had the public hearing to amend 118. This would also be to amend 240, the zoning ordinance, so that, again, we could, the Department of Public Safety could enforce parts of the building code and all of the zoning ordinance concurrently with the building department. And I'd like to set that also for 5 minutes. And so that would be at 6:50 PM on July 3. I would then like to go to what is my item number 5, which is a set of public hearing to amend Chapter 148 of the City Code, noise, with respect to noise on Sunday through Thursday nights. So we had a...
You have one open still, right? You know that, right? I want to make sure you're accounting for your time. I think you left this public hearing open.
Yeah, do I need to assign any time to it?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll just automatically add it. Once you're done assigning times for these, I'll just back up another 5 minutes.
Can we do what we did with the other and add it to what I'm just about to do and make it all the same 5-minute period? Is that?
That's why I wanted to bring it up, because they seem related.
Okay.
So that's...
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. So I'd like to combine that with this public hearing concerning an amendment to the noise ordinance. Again, we've received a number of complaints from residents down.
Two different chapter numbers.
Yes.
You left open.
They are two different chapters.
Yeah. Can I combine them in the public hearing?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll just have to be clear.
Oh, Tony's got some idea. Okay.
Over something briefly. All of our legal notices, after stating a time, indicate a phrase that says, or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached. So if there are certain...
Is that light on?
Question?
No.
Well, you don't read loud. How about now? There we go. I'll say it again. Our legal notices for ordinance amendments always have a phrase at the end that say, at this particular time, or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached. If there are 2 or 3 or even more related matters that have to be voted on, they could all be set for one time, and then as the council gets to them, the legal ad already really covers the fact that it could be a little later on than the stated time. You might want to stick to related matters for now, but you can certainly do that. That's always available.
Right. Thank you, Tony.
John,
So yes, you can combine them. You're welcome, Lisa.
Okay. So I'm sorry, the suggestion, I'm sorry, and I'm going to go back, Lisa. The suggestion is to combine the open one, which is on Chapter 118, with the one that we just set for 240. I'm sorry, and those are related, so we'll combine those. Thank you. Okay, so, and we've already set the time for that.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm going to then go to my item number 5, set public hearing to amend Chapter 148 concerning noise. This deals with noise during the evening hours, first a technical correction, and then secondly, lowering the maximum noise level for the Sunday through Thursday night periods from its current level at 90 decibels to 85 decibels. And I will need 10 minutes for that.
That will do at 6:40.
6:40, thank you. And my final public hearing will be to amend Chapter 225 of the City Code, Vehicle and Traffic, with respect to adding bicycle lanes to Lake Avenue. Again, because of the interest in this, we felt it might be important to have another public hearing. I'm going to suggest that we leave 30 minutes for this public hearing, so that would be 6:10.
Anything else?
That is the end of my agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. On to Supervisor. Supervisor Veach.
Need to go wireless. All right, I'll stand here. Thank you, Mayor. First on my, and only thing on my agenda is just a quick report on our Economic Development Committee. I was happy to be able to present the county proclamation at the Chamber's 100th anniversary party for the Chamber of Saratoga County, honoring the Chamber for all their accomplishments over the past years. It was a good event. They actually scheduled it at the exact same time 100 years later on, I believe it was June 7th. At 5 p.m. or June 6th at 5 p.m., 100 years after their first meeting. Our Economic Development Committee meeting was held on June 11th, and we passed several resolutions that were then approved at the Board of Supervisors meeting today. We accepted $215,115 in funds for the Youth Summer Employment Program. That's an increase of $29,684 from the prior year, mainly due to increases in the minimum wage. We accepted federal funds for $646,178.36 for our Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, which is essentially the money that we use to run our Employment and Training Center. We authorized Washington County EOC to perform work for adult and youth employment services for Washington County. The Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act actually covers a 3-county area, Saratoga, Warren, and Washington counties. And so when something comes forward for one of the other counties, we have to approve it in Saratoga County. So we approved Washington County EOC to perform work for youth and adult employment service for Washington County. At Saratoga County, we do all that in-house in our employment and training office, so we don't have a resolution for Saratoga County. We also approved $5.4 million in funds to complete the Zim Smith Trail Southern Extension to the city of Mechanicville. The county share is $250,000 of that, which is currently available in our Zim Smith Capital Fund. So it looks like that trail is going to move forward down toward the city of Mechanicville. And lastly, we had Rod Sutton, who is the chair of the Saratoga County IDA, give a report on their activities so far this year. He discussed plans for some land that they may purchase in the Luther Forest Technology Park and future economic development within the county as well overall. And we did meet the new director of the Saratoga County IDA, Scott Duffy. And with that, that concludes my agenda, and thank you.
Thank you. On to Supervisor Gaston.
Thank you. First, as a resident of the West Side, I want to especially thank DPW and DPS. We got pretty trashed over there yesterday, and by the time I actually got up here from Albany, DPW had already removed a major portion of the trees that were blocking roads, and DPS was out there making sure that everybody was safe, despite the fact that no one knows what to do when the lights are out on Broadway. I know you're working on it. First, at today's board meeting, we passed a couple of resolutions, including $161,000 in Youth Bureau funding across the county, which includes money for our library programming, support treatment for children, and Project Lift, which are in all of our local schools. I know some of my children participate in Project Lift and they really love it, so it's a great opportunity for Saratoga Springs kids. We also approved, much like tonight, the Saratoga County Sheriff hiring 11 new road patrols who will serve as school resource officers during the year and road patrols in the summer. There are also a couple of public hearings that may be of interest. They're all on July 11th, starting at 4:17 p.m. regarding leases at Saratoga County Airport and the construction of a biosolids digester facility that will be shared with Albany County. Second on my agenda is I will not be present at the July 3rd meeting. It sounds like all the public hearings are set then. So I will pass on anything I have to Supervisor Veach. And third, part of the reason I won't be here is I will be traveling down south. And part of that trip will include a trip to the National Association of Counties meeting, which is for county elected officials all over the nation who meet to discuss policies that will benefit our municipalities and our counties. If you have any particular concerns, some of mine are going to be affordable housing and the opioid crisis and how we can improve assistance here in the city and in the county. If you have anything, feel free to contact me before I go so I can make sure to get as much information as I can. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other business, council? No. Thank you and good night. We're adjourned.
Public Affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcome. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Most cybersecurity firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.